Հաղորդման հովանավոր Dignity Health Glendale Memorial Hospital.
Hi, my name is Dr. Manuel Momjin. I'm practicing at Dignity Health Glendale Memorial Hospital. For common colds, most people don't know when they need to stay home or when they need to go and see the doctor. If you're having fevers for more than 3 days, cough that just doesn't go away, shortness of breath, or chest pain, I would recommend that you go and consult with your doctor.
Բարի երեկո սիրելի բարեկամներ։ Այսօրվա մեր հայդակիրը real estate-ի մասին է։ Real estate-ի դարբեր ծևով real estate-ի բոլորովին ինչպես դարբեր ընկերություններ կամ տեխնոլոգի ընկերություն եկան եւ փոխեցին real estate-ի մարքեթը, այսօրվա մեր հայդակիրը այդ մասին է եւ մեր հյուրն է այդ անձը, որ աս դարբեր գաղափարը մեջտեղ բերած real estate-ի մարքեթի մեջ։ Մեր հյուրն է Jack Ryan-ը եւ իր հետ պիտի խոսենք աս թեմայի մասին։
REX Real Estate Exchange անշարժ գույքի առուվաճառքի հեղափոխական համակարգ, որը շրջանցելով MLS-ը թույլ է տալիս անշարժ գույքի ոլորտում արագ եւ անմիջական գործարքներ կատարել, առանց գործակալների միջնորդության։ Real Estate Exchange-ը կիրառում է թվային տեխնոլոգիաների եւ արհեստական բանականության ոլորտի ընձեռած գերժամանակակից հնարավորությունները։ Ցանկանում եք բնակարան գնել, այժմ այն ձեզ կներկայացնի ոչ թե անշարժ գույքի գործակալը, այլ վաճառվող բնակարանում զետեղված բոլոր անհրաժեշտ տվյալներով զինված համակարգիչը։ Նման արդիականացված մոտեցումը Real Estate Exchange-ին թույլ է տալիս գործարքի համար գանձվող ընդհանուր արժեքի 5-ից 6%-ի փոխարեն գանձել ընդամենը 2%։ Real Estate Exchange-ը կիրառում է ամենաարդի միջոցները, ստեղծելով մատչելի, արագ եւ արդյունավետ պայմաններ թե վաճառքի եւ թե գնման համար։ 2015 թվականին հարավային Կալիֆոռնիայում ստեղծված ընկերությունը արդեն իսկ զգալի մասսայականություն է վայելում։ Այսօր մեր տաղավարում ենք հյուրընկալել Real Estate Exchange-ի համահիմնադիր եւ գործադիր տնօրեն Jack Ryan-ին, անդրադառնալու անշարժ գույքի շուկայի ներկայիս վիճակին, մոտ ապագայի կանխատեսումներին եւ Real Estate Exchange-ի ծառայությունների առանձնահատկություններին։
Սեր պագամներ այսօրվա մեր հյուրն է ինչպես ասենք Jack Ryan-ը, որ աս ընկերության պատասխանատուն է եւ իր հետ պիտի զրուցենք աս տարբեր գաղափարի մասին real estate-ի մեջ։ Jack, welcome. Parev. I like that. You already have a tie, which is you can explain it to our audience what it is.
Armenian tie, and of course the colors are the themes of courage and independence. Peace for blue, and the apricot, of course, for creativity of the Armenian people.
Great, thank you so much. I mean, that was a good opening. Okay, Jack, let's talk about this concept, which I just said in Armenian.
Yeah.
This is like a unique concept, but let's talk about yourself first,
right.
Because just before the show, we were talking about your background, which is enormous. I mean, you Harvard Law School, MBA, work for Goldman Sachs. So just give a little bit background about yourself.
So I grew up near Chicago, and then I went to Dartmouth College in New Hampshire, and then Harvard Law School and Harvard Business School. And then, surprisingly to most people, I went to work in a refugee camp in South Texas during the Central American Wars, when many people were fleeing Central America from the communist aggression coming up to the US, and at that time it was easier to get in. Then I went to Goldman Sachs for almost 20 years, and I learned there how to use technology to trade assets, move assets. And that's how REX came to be.
Okay. What was your role? I know you worked there 20 years at Goldman Sachs, which is the premier investment banking firm.
Right.
Were you on the investment banking side, or?
Mostly investment banking, but some trading, and I was there to watch as we moved. Like back in the day, we used to get an eighth, 12 cents, to trade shares of IBM. This is relevant to real estate today. When I left, it was half a penny, because you started using technology to find the buyers and sellers of shares rather than going through the middleman, the New York Stock Exchange floor broker. And that's what we're doing with real estate. We can now find buyers and sellers of your home without using the middleman and just using technology to make predictions about who will buy your house.
Okay, so we're going to talk that in a little bit more detail and understand what we're talking about, just to explain to our audience. So you were at Goldman Sachs for 20 years.
Almost,
right?
yeah.
Almost 20 years.
Yeah.
And you come up with this idea of somehow to change the real estate selling and buying process, right?
Yeah.
What do you, how do you come up with that concept first, and why real estate?
So that's a little bit of a, I can make it a short story. So I leave Goldman Sachs, we go public. I happen to be one of the partners who's at Goldman Sachs when we go public. Lucky for me.
So you cashed out quite nicely.
But then I go to teach high school on the south side of Chicago.
Okay.
And this is relevant to you because you're so involved in your community and trying to make your community better.
Right.
And so I was teaching high school about 3 years. There's an article in the New York Times saying how much money Goldman Sachs partners were making. And the principal says, I think you should leave the school. And I said, why should I leave? And he said, because if you really want to help the community, maybe your highest and best use is not teaching English, but using your knowledge to trade and make money, and then give the money to the school. Just like people here.
I would have said the same thing to you.
I know. Well,
because, you know, it makes sense. I mean, instead of going and teaching, I mean, I'm not putting the teachers down, so don't get me wrong, or don't get the audience wrong. I mean, for you, highly trained, Harvard Law School, Harvard Business School, MBA, you're trying to teach in a high school. I mean, you'd rather go make millions of dollars, give a couple of million to school. That would make more sense to me.
Right, because, well, I should have spoken to you before I did this because...
And I'm not the Harvard Law School guy.
So I guess Laverne is a better teacher of people than is Harvard because you figured this out. So he's saying, look, English teachers you're a good English teacher. Good. Not great, you're good.
Right.
But our constraint is not English teachers. With money, we can hire more of those. Our constraint is capital. So just like you spend a lot of your time giving back to Armenia, if my job is to give back to the communities I care most about, go out and make money and do that effectively. So that's how I got the idea that you asked me about, of like, well, how do I use my ability to trade things and then make money for our customers but ourselves in trading things? And I go, I know. I'll use the same techniques we used at Goldman Sachs to move shares, but at a much lower cost, and apply it to residential real estate, using big data, artificial intelligence, predictive analytics, all those things we used to trade shares and bonds at Goldman.
So let me get the chronology and the concept in place. So as you were working at Goldman Sachs, you said, there's an opportunity here in real estate.
Yes. Well,
like Jeff Bezos did. He thought about maybe books, and now Amazon is everywhere, in every item or service you can imagine. So you come up with the concept of saying, let's do this real estate in a much cheaper way, right?
Yes, exactly right.
So you thought about real estate first.
Exactly. I really thought about it after I was told, hey, maybe your highest and best use to help your community is to go make money and give back.
Right.
So I go, I know how to do that, because residential real estate still has that old-fashioned kind of model with floor brokers and very expensive 6%. And we all know how it works. And I said, well, that's the way Goldman Sachs was when I first arrived. When I left, it was computers doing a lot of that work. Now, in residential real estate, you still need someone holding your hand at the beginning and that last mile of the transaction, which we do. But finding buyers and sellers, that big part of the transaction, can almost all be done with technology.
So conceptually, you can pretty much eliminate the brokers. Because a traditional broker, the way it works in real estate, this is my understanding, is 3% to the selling agent and 3% to the buying agent, right? 6%.
Yes.
Whereas your concept is flat 2%.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yes.
So you eliminate pretty much that traditional 6% brokers.
Right. Yeah.
How did you come up with that concept?
So what wasn't available 10, 15 years ago was the cloud that can store all this data up in the cloud. It's like a big attic where you can put all your stuff up there, but it's data. And you can put all that information up in the cloud and store it, and then run algorithms like you do in your hospital against that data and make predictions about what's the best cure for this person's disease in the hospital way. We can say who's the best buyer for this house based upon everybody else who lives within 15 miles of this house, using big data to predict the buyer for this house.
Okay, let's explain that to our audience in a little bit more detail, because we need to go step by step. Okay,
all right.
So you come up with the concept, I can do this thing cheaper than the traditional way of doing business, which
Right.
is the traditional 6%, as I explained,
Right.
3 and 3. You said, okay, I can do this thing at 2%.
Yes.
So that 4%, you can lower the price of the house, or you can give back to the buyer and seller? I mean, how does it work?
It sounds like voodoo or alchemy, but when you take out that 6% fee in the middle, the buyer can buy for less and the seller can sell for more for the exact same house.
So they keep that 2 and 2, basically, conceptually.
Well, so that we charge 2% all in versus the 6%. So that
Right.
4% can be 2% more for the seller and 2% less for the buyer. And that's exactly what happened at Goldman Sachs. When the cost of transacting went from 12 cents to half a penny, the buyer of the IBM shares and the seller of the IBM shares could both be better off because the middleman got removed that 10 cents a fee.
So you eliminated that.
Yeah.
So this will drive most real estate agents pretty much out of business, because why would anybody pay 6% when you can do it for 2%?
Well, I mean, there's still travel agents out there. So Expedia and some of those firms, digitize the way you buy airplane tickets. Remember, there used to be a travel agent at the corner.
Right.
There's still travel agents around.
Right.
There's still taxi drivers around. There's still stockbrokers around, even though we have E-Trade and Schwab.
Right.
So they won't all go
So
away.
you're trying to make something very similar to some of these companies came
Yes.
with this, the whole cab industry, pretty
Yes.
much with Uber.
Yes.
Pretty much, it's huge competition.
Right.
Amazon, same thing, not just books, everything
Yeah.
you can buy and
Yeah.
delivers to your house.
Yes.
So you're going to do something similar in real estate it will pretty much bypass the traditional brokers selling and buying.
So we're already doing it. So I think we're almost listed 1,000 homes in 2 years. We're growing so fast. We started in Southern California, then we went to New York, then we went to Austin, Texas. We're launching in Denver in 2 weeks' time. There was a cover article about us in the Wall Street Journal about a week and a half ago with the phrase, "Our robot's going to replace the residential real estate agents."
We're going to talk a little bit in detail. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, Jack, we'll talk how you started the company.
Okay.
And where you are today, and what's the future holding. I mean, it's a very interesting concept, but we're just going to talk a little bit more in detail. So we'll take a very short break.
Great.
Սեր պայգամներ գարշ թաթարեմը հետը պիտի վերահտանանք մեր հայդակրին եւ փաստադրենք աս կոնցեպտը ինչպես կարելի է բոլորով real estate agent-ները bypass-նել եւ շատ ավելի հարմար 2%-ով ծախել real estate-ը այս օրերում։ Սիրելի պայգամներ, այսօրվա մեր հյուրն է Jack Ryan-ը եւ գխոսենք real estate-ի մասին եւ հատկապես տարբեր ծավով real estate-ի մասին, որ բոլորովին պիտի փոխե Ամերիկայի մեջ տուներու ծախելու եւ քնելու transaction-ները։ Jack, just before the break, we were talking about the concept. Now, this is such a revolutionary idea. Just totally is gonna. It's like as you said, Uber changing the whole taxis are.
Right.
So you're gonna do something very similar, bypassing the traditional real estate agents, and you're gonna sell and buy these houses that nobody even thought about. It's possible at 2%.
Yeah, and we're doing that right now. So the only difference between what I'm saying and what you're saying is we're not going to do it. We're doing it right now.
We're doing it already.
right now. As I mentioned, I think we've listed our 1,000th home. We just launched in Austin, Texas.
Number one, when did you start the company?
About
a year ago?
About 2 years ago.
2 years
it went
ago.
public. It went live about 2.5 years ago. Now, before it went live, like when you start a company, like when you in your hospitals, you got to prepare first. So we spent a year and a half building the platform.
Building the platform.
Yes,
okay.
exactly.
You have any investors in this?
Oh my gosh, our investors, this is going to sound like an exaggeration, but it's not. It's really the best investors probably in the history of the United States.
Private equity firms? Or
No. It's like the founder of Sun Microsystems, Scott McNealy, one of the founding members of Google, the founder of Best Buy, the founder of Crate and Barrel, the former
How
CEO
come I
of
didn't know?
McDonald's.
I would have been a founder myself.
I was calling you.
I didn't get the call.
So we have like 20 investors like that. And what's amazing about that, for any of the people out there who are listening or thinking about starting their own business, we sold them shares. We wanted their investment, of course, but most importantly, we wanted their thoughts.
Thoughts, yes,
and all of them have been
course.
so helpful. I can't tell you whether Scott McNealy.
Huge, people that come up with the great concept. Building these companies, from Sun Microsystem, and all these
And Best
tremendous
Buy?
in Best Buy. My goodness.
And like the founder of Best Buy gives me so much good advice. The founder of Sun Microsystems, just I got an example, had said, you need to hire 100 people in the next year. I go, how can I hire 100 people? He said, you can't hire 100 people. 10 of you hire 10 people. Right. That's how you solve that.
Of course.
But just those thoughts when someone tells you, it's like,
Sure.
of course that's true.
Because we've done it as running businesses.
Well, so you've done it running your hospitals.
I mean, we started the company, when I wasn't the founder, I joined the founder as his partner. We were only 10 hospitals.
And now you have 45.
45.
So, yeah.
In a 5-year period.
I should have called you.
Yeah.
Because it's advice like that, because when you come to Goldman Sachs, that place was already fairly big when I came there. There's like, 3,000 employees. Only 100 partners, but about 3,000 employees. But it already existed. With you had to build a business from small to really big, so you had to learn through the School of Hard Knocks how to do it. The reason we have these great investors is because they can say, Jack, you're going to hit a problem right here. You can't see it yet because you haven't done this before, but here's the problem, and I want to tell you how to avoid it.
Exactly.
Right.
Or solve it.
Yes, exactly.
Come up with a solution, of course.
Yeah.
So you started 2 years ago. What is your revenue? I mean, are you a public company, number one?
No, we're not
You're
public.
a private company.
Yes.
And do you have any plans to go public?
Not any plans anytime soon. We're probably going to do another fundraising pretty soon,
Okay.
a private fundraising, but no plans to be public anytime soon. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So you're a private company. Now, how many transactions you do in a year?
Well, so in the very first year we launched, I think we had listed 100 homes, and then our
Still a small. What about now?
Then
today?
we almost did 400 homes last year. We'll be over 1,000 homes this year.
So it's exponential growth.
We're going
basically.
300% over year over year. Yeah.
So how does the process works? Just the nitty, I want to understand it. So you go approach sellers.
Yes.
How do you find the sellers?
So predictive analytics.
Okay, that's what I want to know. The technology.
There's some old school things. You may hear a radio ad about us. You may see a newspaper ad about us, or you may watch this program and hear about us. But the other way we do it is we make predictions about everybody who lives in Glendale, for instance. We've sold a lot of homes in Glendale. And we can tell that they've been in a home for a certain amount of time, and that's all public information. And it may be that we look at longitudinal data. That's behavior of that person over time. What we care most about is changes in behavior, right?
Well, how does it change the behavior, let's say?
So
how do you know I'm going to sell my house? I lived there 20 years.
So it's a connection of 20 data points all in a row about you. So it may be you've been in your home for 20 years, and your last kid has just left for college, and you started buying paint, and you started buying cleaning supplies.
I bought cleaning supplies and paint, which I do it all the time.
So it's the change in that. We
change.
look for changes. Just like in the healthcare world,
Right.
if someone has a certain blood pressure and it suddenly spikes, you go, hey, there's something wrong with that person. Even though they may naturally have high blood pressure, but if it spikes really high, there's a problem.
Yes.
Right, so prediction. So just like in your world, in the healthcare world, it's changes, especially dramatic changes in your behavior that tip us off. That, hey, this person. So if you suddenly started buying cleaning supplies, at 3 times the rate you were buying them for the last 21 years.
How would you get that data? Is it publicly available?
So that's just an example. We're not actually using that particular example. It's an example of how we would do it.
Right.
So we get that data from, it could be, there's third-party data, like TransUnion or Equifax or those kind of companies you've read about. It could be we do a swap with some other company that has data on you.
So you get these leads, basically.
Right.
And so what do you do? The next step is to approach them?
Yes.
Once you get the lead?
Right. And this is just like we did at Goldman Sachs. Now what happens is, let's say we make a prediction that Mike is going to sell his home sometime soon, right? Now we have to address Mike in some way. Well, just like at Goldman Sachs, we could hit the stock exchanges in microseconds saying we'll take IBM stock or sell IBM stock. We can hit these things called ad exchanges and say we know we want to reach Mike with an ad of sell your home for 2%, not 6%. And Mike's either on Facebook, Google, Snapchat, Instagram, Waze, whatever. And we know you're there, and we pop an ad up against you in microseconds. So we hit the ad exchange, we know you're there, an ad pops up, say, Mike, we think you're selling your home, sell it for 2%, not 6%.
As opposed to, okay, that's the catch.
Yeah.
Sell it for 2% as opposed to selling for 6%.
And then because we cut out the middleman for the most part, we do it faster and usually with a better experience because we even predict during the process how we can serve you better.
So that's half of the solution. I mean, half of the issue.
Yes.
So you already identified the seller.
Yes.
And the catch with them is, hey, you're going to pay only 2% as
Right.
opposed to paying 6%.
Right.
Now, how do you find the buyer?
So
How do you approach me saying, are you interested in buying this house? You're going to save some money.
So we make predictions about who the buyer might be, or we just look at behaviors relative to an ad for this home. So what I mean by that is we look at all the homes within a certain vicinity of your house, and we make predictions about people who may want to move sometime soon because they've been in a house for 7 years and they have positive equity in their house, and they have a smaller house than yours, and they have young children in the house, and they also may have engaged in behaviors that make us think they're getting ready to move. And then we rank people from 0, or can rank people from 0 to 100,000, and drop ads on the first 5,000 saying you should buy this house because we think you want to move to a bigger house in the same school district, and your kids are, it's time for them to move to a bigger house, you have the money to do it. We have a prediction about your household income, you should buy this house.
Okay, so you can identify the buyer, and so who would do? Is there a human element? Because in real estate, it takes a lot of work between the buyer and the seller, and the real estate agent constantly. Because I bought several homes, so I know they're always constantly calling. There's issues. Who will resolve these issues that pops up between the buyer and the seller? Besides the regular contract that you sign, it goes into escrow. I mean, that's the technical part. But what about some of these issues? The holes and whatever. How do you work with those elements?
Yeah, so we do need people on what we call the last mile of the transaction. So we may have made a prediction that Mike's going to sell a home, and sure enough, we're right. And made a prediction that Jack wants to buy the house, sure enough, we're right. And then I make an offer for the house. But that last mile of the going to inspect the home, to see the home, the inspection afterwards to make sure it's all up to code, the escrow, the title, then we put, of course, individuals against that, and we hold people's hands through that last mile of the transaction. That last mile, you might have read a lot about cryptocurrencies and all that kind of stuff.
So you take coin?
No, we don't. But I'm just saying you might have heard about, hey.
I did read actually yesterday about a guy that sold his house, got these coins. They were much cheaper. Had he kept them, it was $32 million as opposed to $3 million. Just FYI.
Well, I guess we'll take jelly beans if you want. As long as they're worth, $500,000 of jelly beans, we'll take them. But, the last mile of the transaction for a long time is still going to be a human holding your hand through that.
You need some human element to make it through the transaction, the paperwork, inspections, and all that.
But that shouldn't cost 6%, and it doesn't.
Should not. Okay, so.
Right. So that last mile of the transaction, like showing the house and making sure your documents are correct, and making sure you do the inspection and getting through escrow, that is fairly routine because in California, for instance, there were 500,000 homes that were bought and sold last year. The contracts, that escrow process, is as routine as an appendectomy. And maybe it's not very pleasant all the time, but it's very simple. It's just in terms of the operation, is pretty cookie cutter. So that's not complex.
Okay, we're going to take a short break.
Okay.
Unfortunately, in this business, and come back and a little bit explore these processes. I mean, it's a fascinating concept and idea.
Right.
I just want to understand a little bit more as the audience has these questions in their mind, and we'll go into a little bit more detail. How do you close that escrow? How the next steps and everything. So, Jack, just hang in there for a second. We'll take a break and we'll come back. Սիրելի բարեկամներ, գարշ ստատրեմը բիդի վերտանակ մեր հայդակրին եւ բիդի խոսենք Ջակին հետ ինչպես աս կոնցեպտը գաշխատի եւ ինչպես կարելի հաջողներ real estate այսօրվա մարքեթի մեջ։ Սիրելի բարեկամներ, այսօրվա մեր թեման է real estate եւ հատկապես real estate-ի դարբեր ձևով ծախելու եւ քննելու մասին։ Մեր հյուրն է Jack Ryan-ը, as ընկերության co-founder-ն է եւ իրեն հետ կզրուցենք as concept-ի մասին։ Jack, just before the break, I was thinking about this great concept that you come up with. It's really a different, revolutionary idea in real estate. Like everybody else come up with these ideas. When they first came, the taxi thing, Ubers, the books with, now he's the richest man.
Right.
He's worth over $100 billion, $120 billion. So did you envision this thing to be, still it's an infancy because it's 2 years, 1,000 transactions. So you think you're going to pretty much drive all the real estate agents out of business?
No,
People
really,
hate me saying that, but
no,
what do you think?
I don't think so. There'll always be a role for a good real estate agent. There really will be.
Because you're taking the human element out, right?
We're taking the robot out of the human. So there's a lot of things that the humans do, like putting the yard sign in, or
Right. But how do, if I have a question, where do I call? Let's say I come to you.
That's really interesting.
And I'm going to buy the house, made an offer, but I have all these questions: inspection, this, that, the loan. Who I call?
If you see a home that you like, and we set up the tour for you to see the home, and someone's there to show you around,
buying it.
And then if you want to buy it, we assign someone to you,
right?
And they help you through all that process.
So there's a person assigned to me.
Yes.
So if I have any question, I can call that person, a live person.
Yes.
Not a robot.
Right.
Then I can say, I have this question, or I have this concern.
Yes.
What about the inspection? I mean,
Yes.
I just recently bought a house. I mean, you go through a tremendous paperwork.
Yeah.
Plus all these questions you have.
Yes.
So how do you navigate this through?
Well, so the quick answer is that a human holds your hand on the buy side from the moment you want it to ask
That's
any
all
question.
in the 2%. So
Yes.
there's no additional cost, no hidden cost.
No. But you know what's really interesting? This happens in your hospitals too, that we've trained robots, and no one has to use it, to answer the 75 questions you'd have about a house. So just like Siri or pick your voice-activated computer can answer questions, in the end, as opposed to like the really beautiful houses, there's more than 75 questions, the ones that cost $20 million, of which we already sold one, and we're about to list one for $90 million.
$90 million
Yeah,
house.
about to list a house. But most upper middle class homes, there's only 75 questions you can ask about a house. This is called natural language processing, and the computer can understand your question and answer it more accurately, quicker. There's a record of the conversation. And so we still have humans doing it if you want to talk to a human, but with some homes you can talk to the human, or you can talk to the robot, and the robot will give you a really quick, great answer.
Let me take me as an example.
Okay.
So I come to you,
Yeah.
I want to buy a house.
Yes.
And I'll tell you or your agent, say, I need this house. So how do you access? Do you have like an MLS? Because you don't have MLS, right? You have REX.
Right.
And so you have an inventory of houses that you have listed?
Yes, but so on the sell side, you ask us to sell your house, and we do all the things I spoke to you about using.
What if I'm the
machine
buyer?
learning. And if you're the buyer, you can buy a house we have. You say, look, I don't like the house that you have. I want to see some other house. Here's the other thing we can do for you. Is we say, okay, we'll help you not only get into the house that you want to see, but we'll help you with the paperwork and everything else. And rather than charge you that 3% fee, we'll just rebate you half the fee yourself.
Okay.
And by the way, we can help you with the mortgage and the insurance.
What if the house that I like is listed with a traditional real estate person?
We can approach them on your behalf and say, we have a buyer, Mike would like to buy the house, and Mike would like to see the house this weekend. Can we get him in?
You will cut that commission.
We'll actually give you cash back 2 days before you close for half of the commission.
Half the commission, okay.
Yeah.
So that
Which
will
is real
open
money.
the door.
So on a $500,000 home, we give you a check for $8,000 cash 2 days
take
before
it
you
back.
close. Yeah.
I'll take it back.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. So how many transactions you predict in the next 12 months you're going to do?
We're going to list $1 billion of homes this year.
This year?
In just our third year, we'll do over $1 billion. Yeah, it's
growing phenomenal.
Yes.
I mean, it's a great concept.
Yeah.
Can any traditional real estate agent join your company?
Well, we are
Do they have a
growing
role?
so fast. Pardon me?
You're going to drive them out of business.
No, we're not. Well, I really do think there's always going to be, as I said, I've noticed I said it a couple times, you're not going to replace doctors in every situation, although Watson can answer most of the questions that someone comes in and says, I have a pain right here, and Watson...
But you still need a human person listening to you.
Right, exactly.
You need the role of the doctor.
Right. I think that increasingly, like everything else, the world's going to move to an artificial intelligence, machine learning world, which is what we're doing in residential real estate. But there'll always be a role for the traditional agent, I think, for a while to come.
So you're still going to need some human elements in that.
Yes.
Okay. Let me ask you the future of your company. I mean, how did you get the funding? It was venture capital?
No, it was all these wealthy, successful business people, many of whom I did not know. I said, I have this idea. And just like you, Mike, they're like, oh, that's a fantastic idea. I'd like to help you.
So they bought shares in your company?
Yes, right.
Let's talk about, you're mainly in California and you're moving to other states now, right?
We started in California, then San Diego, then we went to New York just in August. We went to Austin, Texas in just 3 weeks ago, already listed almost over almost 20 homes already. Went to Denver. We launched in Denver April 1st.
So you're going to go nationwide?
Yeah, we're launching nationwide right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have plans to go public?
Not anytime soon.
Okay.
But this goes to also something that might be relevant to you is, you remember I said that I launched this business because we wanted to give back to the community like you are doing with the Armenian community. So for every 50 homes we sell.
By the way, I do in other, not just in Armenian community, just FYI. Even though I'm very active in the Armenian community, I do philanthropic as well as community activities, in various capacities, Just FYI, I just...
Well, I've seen some of your shows from before, and I know you do a lot other than that, but all the things you're doing, not only running the 45 hospitals, but all the philanthropic things you're doing are terrific.
Sure. Thank you.
But so we don't forget that our mission was to help people who, children who lost their parents or who don't have access to good schools. For every 50 homes we sell, we build a home for someone who doesn't have one.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And that is it's just like
you give back to the community.
Just like you're doing. And you don't forget, sometimes I know that I can get so competitive I forget why I'm doing something. And so this is to remind us that this is why we launched the business. It's to help the children who I was teaching at school to in the south side of Chicago. And that's what we try to remind ourselves.
Do you go back to Chicago? You live in LA right now?
Yes, I live in LA.
So you go back to south Chicago?
I do. I have 5 brothers and sisters back there, and my mom's still back there. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
We're going to take a very short break,
Okay.
unfortunately, in this business, and we're going to come back to the last segment. I mean, it went so fast.
Okay.
It's a fascinating idea.
Thank you.
Fascinating concept. I mean, I love it. I mean, the way it's done, and your philanthropic ideas to help the community, and help the buyers and sellers navigate. These are, for most people, buying a house is a major decision in their lifetime, and if you make that process easier, more comprehensive, and easy to understand, it'd be much easier to navigate the whole process.
And that's what we do. We can help them with everything from start to finish, even help you with the mortgage and bonds.
Oh, so do you go to traditional bankers?
No, we have our own now mortgage brokerage operation inside of our company, so we can help you with the mortgage. We can help you with the insurance, the escrow. So, sometimes you have to go from the.
So you do the financing as well?
Yes, we can if you want us to do the finance. Yeah.
Through your own sources.
Yeah, and this is the point you're making, which is you buy a home, most people once every 7 or 8 years. No one's expert at it. They don't do it often enough. You buy a home once every 20 years. And so we do it every single day. And so what makes it hard for people is they go from the real estate agent, the mortgage broker, to the insurance company, to the escrow company, the warranty company. We do it all for you and take care of everything for you.
From A to Z.
Yes. Yeah.
So a complete one shop.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to take a very short break, and we'll come back, and in our last segment, hopefully we can complete this process of, it's fascinating. I was really fascinated for what you come up with and what you're doing. Սեր պարագամներ, գարշ ծաթարեմը հետո պիտի վերաթանակ մեր հայդակրին։ Սեր պարագամներ, այսօրվա մեր հյուրն է Ջեք Ռայանը եւ իր սկավես դարբեր concept of real estate image. Jack, before the break, I was thinking how hot the market is, been in Southern California.
Right.
Can you talk about the real estate market in California and the rest of the country as a matter, because you're nationwide now?
Well, it is very hot, and the reason is because there's almost no construction from 2008 to 2011 and 12, and the population is still growing at 2 or 3%, but because of the financing markets and the housing market was so slow, people weren't building homes. And so now people have the confidence and the ability and the financing to buy homes.
So basically there's more demand than there's supply.
For a long time, homes weren't being built for an unusually long period of time in the history of the United States of America. So now almost across the country, there's huge demand for homes. Yeah.
In California as well as the nation?
Mm-hmm. Especially in California, because the zoning restrictions are so high, it's hard to build new housing stock quickly, because you probably know if you try to add to your home or build a home, that takes forever to get to the local zoning approvals.
Same thing building a hospital, it takes forever to
Right.
get the permits from OSHPAT and try to build it. So it's a very area that is very difficult to build more homes. So thus the supply is not enough to accommodate the demand out there.
Exactly
So
right.
the prices are going up. So
Exactly right.
what are the projections for the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years? Same? It's going to stay at these levels?
Well, the interest rates are backing up a little bit, and so that affects
That
people's...
will bring some of that
Yes.
demand down.
Right, and that's natural in many ways because the rate's been so suppressed for so long relative to our historical standards, and rates are coming back up again, and so housing prices will get suppressed a little bit, but it's a horse race between rates going up and the excess demand relative to the supply. So it's hard to predict
But you
exactly.
don't predict, like happen in the recession, prices are going to come down.
Unless there's a financial crisis of the highest order.
Or that will crash the prices.
Right.
But in the way it is, because of demand and supply,
Yeah.
the prices will stay at these levels.
Yes.
And maybe even go up
That's right.
at a much slower pace.
Much more moderate rate,
Moderate
especially as
rates,
interest
okay.
rates are going up. Right.
Okay, great. How about on the commercial real estate side? Have you thought about the commercial real estate side? Or you
People
own-
keep asking us to go into that business for all the reasons we just talked about, because when you use big data and predictive analytics, you can actually reduce the cost of commercial real estate as well.
Sure, I mean,
But
it's the same concept.
It's the exact same concept, but just like in your hospital, you have certain specialty groups, and they should focus on their specialty, not get too far afield. We're doing the exact same thing, which is like, let's keep our blinders on, do this thing right first. There's plenty of time later in our life if we think we have the ability and no one else is doing it to be in that space. But right now, let's do a really great job at buying and selling homes.
And you are active in Glendale, you said to me earlier?
Oh yeah, we've sold, I think, about a dozen homes in Glendale, and there are 8 homes or so in Pasadena, a lot of homes in the Armenian community. Yeah, we've done
So we're
quite
active
well.
in the Armenian. So our Armenian community people are active in computers and trying to get into this data.
Exactly, yeah, they are.
Is this a good time to buy a house today?
Well, I think it's a good time if you have a need.
If anybody is going to buy, especially the first-time buyer, should they wait? Should they buy it now? What is your advice would be?
I think it's really driven by your family circumstance. So if you...
I mean, it's much better than to rent a place because you're just wasting your money by renting.
But well, kind of, sort of. I mean, it depends on your after tax. You can do the math, like you have to do at the hospitals all the time, and the analytics, and say I pay this much, $3,000 a month after tax, and my mortgage is $4,500. How much can I deduct, especially after SALT?
The new tax, yeah.
Right.
Right.
The state and local taxes and deductibility, et cetera. And so you have to do the math, so to speak. And if you have trouble doing the math, we can help you with that math. And we're not advocating that you should buy a house or not buy a house. It's really what's your family circumstance and what's the alternative, renting versus buying.
Buying.
Yeah.
So each individual should make their own calculation to see if it makes sense for them to rent a place as opposed to buying a place.
Yeah,
right?
and you oftentimes hear these maxims that you should always buy a house or whatever. And it's not really true. It's like giving someone some prognosis based upon their age, about their health. It depends upon that particular person's condition. Right, and that's the same with buying a house. About what's your family condition? Is your employment one that may ask you to move in 2 or 3 years or something like that? What's the cost of renting in the area you want to live? What kind of school district you want to live in? What's the cost of being in that school district? It's very specific to your particular situation. So it's hard to give someone broad advice, but we can help people with that if they'd like to get the analysis.
On the mortgage side, I mean, the rates are creeping up a little bit because they're raising the discount rate and so forth. So is this a good time to lock into these 30 years or 15-year rates, which is still historically very low rates, as opposed to, and when I first bought my house, it was 11%, let's say,
Right.
30 years ago.
Right.
But now the rates are still, after, climbing, it's still 4%,
Well, so whether you're buying a house or financing a hospital, this is based on my 30 years in investment banking, Goldman Sachs, I'd say rates are really historically low, and lock in the rate if you can, because if you look over the last 100 years, these are really, really low rates.
Low rates.
Right. And so could they go lower? Maybe. But if I were betting, I'd bet they're going higher over the next 5 years than lower.
Because they already make the point that they're going to raise the rates, Federal Reserve.
They made that point too, and then there's just a huge regression to the mean. Like, there's the mean kind of interest rate over the last 75, 80 years, and you have these, as you know, these normal curves, and there's a regression back to the middle of the normal curve, and we're at one end of it, and you expect it to come back the other way, and it probably will. So if I were a betting person who was still trading bonds and stocks, I'd be saying, sell, go long in terms of issuing bonds. Yeah.
What is your future as a company, as an industry?
Well, as a
If
company,
you imagine yourself 3 to 5 years from now.
I think we'll be doing, in fact, our projection shall be doing maybe $50 billion in transactions, not a
$50
billion.
billion.
Yeah, because it's just growing so fast. And of course it is, because just like Walmart.
Are you going to be the next Amazon? Is that what you want to be?
Well, we'd like to be really big, not because of selfish reasons, but one, because when you can buy and sell homes for 2%, not 6%, everyone's benefited pretty much. The home buyer, the home seller, state and local governments get taxes when you sell home. There's their transfer tax, and we're helping build schools and homes for people who don't have them. And so almost everyone benefits as we get bigger. So we have big aspirations, but it's because we really believe, and this is true of your hospital, like if you think you're providing services to people that are useful, you want to do more of it.
Hopefully there's nobody who can come in our business, say 2%, so I can keep the hospitals.
I think you're in good shape. I think you're fine. Yeah.
There's always going to be sick people and so forth, but the way our business is also changing drastically, going into outpatient settings.
I was going to mention that to you.
As opposed to inpatient settings.
Yeah, people are trying to always hive off part of your business at the hospital. I can do this off-site, I can do it for less, I can do it. And that's a natural process of capitalism and evolution, that someone's going to say, I can take that emergency room and take this portion of it and move it to an outpatient and do it for less, right?
Freestanding ERs.
And you're constantly fighting, of course, battling this all the time.
These things all
happen.
But this
is good. It keeps you sharp.
Sure.
It's good. It's good.
Real estate people now, they're going to be sharp because you have competition to them.
Same with taxi drivers. Same with stockbrokers, right? Same with travel agents.
You know,
we all get better.
The Ameritate comes in, or these discount firms, as opposed to traditional 1%, you're paying only 10 cents.
Right.
Per transaction.
Right.
Let's talk. We have a few minutes left in the show. Let's talk about your association with the Armenian community. Obviously, you knew our flag and you were wearing it. I'm so proud of that.
Thank you very much.
You have Armenian employees in your business?
Yes. We have a couple of Armenian employees. And in fact, one of the most important people on the marketing side, Aline, is Armenian, lives in the Glendale area. So Amin Alverdian is one of our key employees, and we've actually sold a number of homes for Armenians.
How about you have any listings in Glendale, North Hollywood, these heavy Hollywood? Do you have Armenian clients in those areas?
Yeah, now we don't characterize them by their ethnicity.
I know, but
right.
Just,
but yes,
IAN or YN, you see those names
right.
more often in transactions.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
We're going to wrap it up. So what are your thoughts? I mean, if you sit down, you went to Harvard and Goldman Sachs, what are your vision for your business as well as the industry, real estate industry?
Well, so I think the future of services, and this is true for you in the hospital, is moving more and more to artificial intelligence, big data, machine learning, predictive analytics. So what we've seen so far that you were referring to before is people like Amazon have taken products like books and shirts and fruits and vegetables and been able to deliver those to you at a less expensive price. What hasn't really happened yet, but we're on the verge of, is the same thing happening on services, whether it's the residential real estate agent, the brokerage transaction, the mortgage transaction, legal transactions. Artificial intelligence and machine learning, like we're doing, is going to make that actually more efficient, bring down costs, and provide a lot more jobs. So the big trend, I think, for the next 10 years will be the application of the things you've seen Amazon do to products with machine learning, predictive analytics, happening also with services. And that's what we're on the cutting edge of.
Great, great. Well, thank you. Jack, this is very informative.
Thank you.
It's just a lot of information, a lot of data, but it's very helpful to our audience because this, I didn't know that this could happen, that you can take a transaction which is 6% and cut it by 2/3 basically, and then provide the same services, maybe online, but at a substantially lower cost, which at the end of the day is going to benefit the buyer and the seller in terms of getting that discount back to them in their pockets. Any final thoughts to our audience?
No.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate everything. Սիրելի բարեկամներ, մեր հայդակիր այսօր կվերջանա եւ շատ շնորհակալ ենք բարոն Ջակին, որ բոլորովին դարբեր կոնցեպտ real estate-ի համար ինքը մեզի ներկայացուց այսօր, շատ շնորհակալ ենք իրեն. Thank you.
Հաղորդման հովանավոր Dignity Health Glendale Memorial Hospital